you go. Yoko, take it away.
Can you see the slides?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
can see your
not
screen.
that these slides are like, there's not any valuable information on here. I just compiled all the topics together. So, all right.
There we go.
Great. All right, so we're 10 minutes in. So I did want to do a quick introduction, but maybe I'll cut out a few things just in case we don't have time at the end. I know there's a lot to talk about today. So yeah, I know people are going to be stepping in and out today. So yeah, feel free to leave anytime. You'll get the recording after this and also MC's notes. And we also have a very special guest. We're very lucky to have Paul from High Mowing today. Hi, Paul. Did you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
That's okay.
You're on mute, Paul.
Yeah, I unmuted. Yeah, that's okay. Let's get rolling, and then
Okay.
people will know me by
All right, cool.
So at some point.
I guess we are onto the introduction, so you can speak a little bit about yourself once it's your turn. But let me introduce myself really quickly. I'm Yoko. I farm in Putnam, Connecticut. I'm with Asawaga Farm, and my husband and I grow vegetables and now a little bit of flowers on less than an acre. So I was thinking you could share, if you'd like really quickly to share one crop that did really well for you this year or really poorly, or both. So for me, I wanted to buy intercut lettuce early in the season, and I saw that it was sold out. So I was growing a different variety, Hampton, and as soon as intercut became available, I bought it, and the difference was like huge. So intercut is now my favorite. So that's me. MC, you want to go next? So if everyone can name somebody after you go, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm MC. I work at Massar Community Farm, and I'm also the coordinator of the New CT Farmer Alliance. And a crop that did really poorly is we just were like, why not? We'll plant celery, we'll try it out, we'll give it its time to shine. And we just did not weed it once. So no fault of the celery, but through neglect, it did not succeed and was kind of a sad, reminder of our long to-do list all season long. But that's okay because we had many other successes. I'll pass it to Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah with, can you hear me?
Yes.
I sometimes have trouble with my microphone. Okay, good. This is Deborah. I'm with Monsoleil Market Garden in Stafford and Union, Connecticut. And I'd say probably our worst crop this year was our autumn broccoli. I don't know why, but the mice really favored our autumn broccoli and climbed up and down all the branches and ate the entire crop. It was unbelievable. Why they went after the broccoli, I don't understand. Best crop, I would say probably just our lettuces. We always do really well with our lettuces. So who wants to go next? How about Diane?
Which one?
I'll go. There's two. I'm Diane Dorfer. I'm Cobblestone Farm in Mansfield Center, mixed vegetables. I had melon success, so that was exciting. The voles did not eat them all, nor did they explode. The variety was Athena, I think. Haven't thought about that in a while, but yay for melons. And your broccoli beat my broccoli, which just died in the seedling trays. The flea beetles annihilated them, which doesn't normally happen at that time of year. So, fall broccoli. Spring broccoli was okay. Robert, do you want to go?
Sure. Robert Chang with Echo Farm out in Woodstock, Connecticut. Certified organic vegetables and cut flowers. I know it's a lot of vegetable people on the call, so I'll just say like I was really surprised with my pro-cut sunflowers, which were in a part of the field that was not irrigated, planted late, and so had to deal with the drought and no irrigation, and they came through. So, so I was pleased with that. And I will pass it on to Diane Litwin.
Thanks, Robert. Hi, everybody. I'm going to speak for me and also the other Deb that's on the call. She can't really chat right now. I would say our cantaloupe, we just haven't mastered it. That's fine. And we had an incredible basil season. Best basil ever. Cool. And I'll pass it to Christine Harrington.
Hi, yeah, this is her husband, Andrew. Deep Hollow Farm in Chester, Connecticut. Yeah, I will second Yoko's recommendation of Intercut. It is an awesome lettuce variety, very, very high yielding for salad mix production. Yeah, we had a good field tomato season. I like Johnny's has I think High Mowing has it too, a determinate red tomato called Galahad, and we grew it last year and this year, and we really like it. Really high production and tastes good too. And one thing that we did poorly with this year was beets, because our vole community loves to eat them, so we would lose like half of the beets to vole bites, so we just stopped growing them at a certain point in the summer. And let's see, I'm not sure who is next. Hannah Tripp.
Hannah, you might be muted.
She's not muted.
I saw her mouse moving. Okay, maybe we can go with Adam in the meantime.
This is Adam. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, I don't know. Coming to you from the icebox, Connecticut. I'm clearing snow, so I'm a little distracted. But this year, celery was also no good. But we had really good luck with broccoli. At Husky Meadows Farm in Norfolk, Connecticut. And I have recently left Husky Meadows, and we are starting a new. Lots of good things happening.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to call on Matt.
Matt Wentz, River Ridge Farm in Portland. Crop that did well. Kale and broccolini, I'd say. And we had a really good one cut kale harvest at the end of the season, which I think is Starbor from Johnny.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, let me just choosing people. Holly?
Hi, I'm just lurking today. Actually, Adam is working with us. We're starting up a new farm in Winchester. So I'm just here.
Okay, great.
I'm just here to learn. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good. Kirsten can't be speaking right now. And then can we get back to Hannah now? Hannah, is your microphone working?
Can you hear me?
Hannah?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can now.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I put it in the chat just in case, but I'm Hannah. I'm from Provider Farm in Salem, Connecticut. I would say my new favorite crop this year was the green bee cherry tomatoes from Johnny's. They're like a little funky, but taste really good, and they hold up really well even deep in the season when everything else is kind of rotting out. And then we had a lot of drought challenges, but for seed wise, I would say one of our biggest issues last year was with our scarlet kale from Johnny's not germinating for us.
Paul, would you like to make an introduction?
Definitely. I moved this summer from Vermont to the Finger Lakes of New York. So I didn't grow a ton, but I have a trial farm that I call Prosperity Food Co. And I basically grow out as much of the catalogs as I can. I'm really excited to start that up out there. But I was a consumer this summer. I was really impressed with anybody who could sell me lettuce in the drought. And I was sure to ask them, what those varieties were. And we can I'm sure we'll have that conversation. And then it was a great pepper year. And so I got to see a lot of really great peppers out there. And I'll take my high mowing hat off. I really fell in love with one called Apple from Fedco. It was just a fun, really tasty red elongated pepper. So I'm trying to get us to trial it as well. It's an OP.
Cool. And last but not least, I think it's just Jana that's left. Am I right?
Hi, I'm Jana from Adama Farm, and a shout out to this call. Last year, I got inspired to grow broccolini, and it grew so well. I had never wanted to deal with harvesting it so often, but yeah, it was really fun and so tasty and grew really well. Yeah. And celery, I'll put celery on our bad list too. I grow it every year, and every year it's kind of stringy. And every year I think this will be the year when it's really good, and it never is. So
Yeah, I get that too. The what is it? The sponginess over time gets more and more pronounced.
yeah.
Yeah. But we can talk about that when we talk about celery. So yeah, what you see in front of you are the topics that we're covering today. Most of the topics were in the top 4, the lettuce, brassica, solanaceae, and cucurbits. So I think we'll spend most of our time on those. But of course, we'll hit the other ones. And then if you want to bring up, new topics during the other page, that's totally fine. So yeah, please speak up whenever you want to. And hopefully Ian can come, because I know he usually contributes a lot. And yeah. Surprised to not see him today. All right, so we'll start with lettuce, as we always do. Head lettuce, I think Matt listed this one. Any comments, opinions, experiences growing great bad varieties?
Last year, I asked you all about green head lettuce for summer. I've grown Starfighter for a long time, but maybe they're thinking about dropping it. I don't know. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to find. I really like it, and I still think it was the best, but I also tried Muir and Encino. And Muir was pretty good. None of them got tip burn, which was nice, but Encino was more likely to get this kind of gross bottom rot that doesn't normally happen in the summertime. And they weren't too dense or anything, well weeded. Encino was fine in the spring and really nice. A lot of people really liked it. They called it the poodle lettuce, but not so great in the middle of the summer. So at least I've got Muir now to add into my arsenal. So thanks everyone.
I realized that my laptop is dead and I can't look at it since I'm sharing my screen. I can't look at my varieties list. So I'm having a hard time remembering what varieties were what. Anyone else have any comments in the meantime?
Johnny's and I think High Mowing both carry several summer crisp varieties, or Batavia, I think they also call them. And Yeah, Muir is one of them. Highmore calls that a green leaf, but Johnny's calls it a summer crisp. And then Cherokee and Magenta are two other ones that are really nice. They basically don't bolt. They perform well pretty much all season long, and they taste good. They're kind of like a romaine, especially the Cherokee is. I would basically call it a red romaine. But yeah, they're both really nice. One's red and one's dark red. Cherokee is dark red. Magenta is kind of like reddish, greenish.
I feel like the Cherokee in the past, it was like quicker to go bitter in the summer.
Mm.
I
And I
really
love
like Cherokee in the fall, and those were the first lettuces that I saw in the Finger Lakes after the heat of the drought kind of subsided. Is I started to see those summer crisps pop up. Even the leaf lettuces it took a long time to rebound. So you hit on those as definite drought tolerant choices, and they do really perform well in the cool of the fall.
Yeah, I also grow New Red Fire, one of the varieties that I remember, during the summer, and it's always great. They're just huge heads. I grow it right through summer, and then I switch to a different variety for the fall, since it's not as cold hardy, but I love New Red Fire. They're really gorgeous.
And it doesn't bolt for you.
It doesn't.
Cool.
Yeah. I've been growing it ever since we started, and it's never.
Has anybody ever grown Bower? I think it's like a newer mini green oak leaf.
No.
Bauer was a couplet with Bellevue, which was a great lettuce, but they discontinued. Vitalis discontinued that. I've only grown it last year because we've been trialing it for years, but I only got a hold of the seed last year. So I'm interested in what people who did grow it think.
Kirsten, who's I think she's on a forklift and can't really join, but she is texting me saying that Ruxai, am I saying that right? Ruxai is great for all seasons.
Butterhead that they really like.
Buttercrunch and Adriana have been great for me, which are two butterhead types.
I do Nancy in the spring and Adriana in the summer and fall, and they're both terrific.
What about a red butter?
Skyfos all the way.
Skyfos.
I love Skyfos. Best variety.
Has anybody grown any of like the mini heads, like the mini romaines or the little gem types? Johnny's has like a few different colors of each of them now.
Yeah, our farm does mostly Salanovas and mini types and a lot of mini romaines. I find that you can plant them pretty densely and then harvest to thin and get varying sizes, which we just price differently or bunch them together depending on how big or small they are.
I love Seagull Lane. The farm I used to work at they grew so many different varieties, but I had never grown them myself. And it's just so tasty, it's beautiful, and it's super consistent, like all seasons.
Can you say the name of that one again?
Seagull Lane, Cegolaine.
Yeah, we've had good success with that as well. It's pretty fault tolerant.
We're already kind of like weaving in Salanova and stuff, but we can move on to Salanova and one cut varieties too, if you guys have any good experiences with them.
One that we tried this year is Esflor, or I guess that's how it's pronounced, EZFLOR. It's a red one cut, and I really liked it. It gets like fairly good size, and doesn't seem to bolt, and it's a nice dark red color. Good sort of like frilliness.
What was that one? Sorry.
It's spelled EZFLOR.
Okay. Any other one cut varieties or Selenova? I know Rachel and I, last year, we discussed how we really like the red Batavia because they're just so consistent. But I don't grow that many Selenova anymore, so.
I really like the oak leaf personally, just for the toughness of them and the good sizing you can get out of them in uniformity. Plus they have a little bit of heft so that you get that nice weight.
Kirsten's asking for recommendations for lettuce/brassica mixes. She tried Johnny's and loved their mixes, but their prices are high. They tried Harris, but they didn't tolerate the heat well at all. So do you have any comments on that?
My strategy with one cut mixes is I just put individual varieties in the hopper and do single rows or partial rows, because I find that when you have the same variety growing together, that the uniformity is the same, and you get a lot less of those problems where one thing in the mix doesn't do well, and it kind of is a pain in the ass to try to harvest around. And that way, like if you have something that doesn't do well in one part of the season, it's only a single row that you have to avoid, as opposed to cutting around it in a mix. And I think it actually ends up being cheaper to just do it yourself rather than to buy pre-made mixes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, the mixes that are out there, I think across companies, I don't want to speak for other companies, but you know, for high mowing, we spend a lot of time pairing those varieties for all sorts of different reasons. Making sure they match up well so that they can be harvested at the same time. And you're right to say, and it is very true and bears out, that if something isn't performing well in the mix, if a germination percentage even drops by just a few points in the time that you've gotten the seed, it can change the mix component so drastically, and often is very hard to decipher what's going on. So my recommendation is always that if you're just getting started in mixes and you're not like really like doing a lot of beds space per planting, start with a mix and then talk to your rep, find out what's in that mix, so that then you can sort of evolve into your own mix. Because if you build a value added product based on something that we've kind of got and what we've got changes, then that can really impact your markets, and that's really hard to deal with. And unless you buy a lot of the individual varieties, it actually, believe it or not, ends up being more expensive if you're just buying 5 pounds or less to buy the individual varieties. And I cannot explain to you why that is the case. But if you try to buy like an ounce of this, an ounce of that, for me, I have to rebate it significantly in order for you to get it at the price you got it at the mix, which I'm willing to do, but it's not really sustainable.
Speaking of good and bad germination, do people want to talk about how they germinate their lettuce in the summer, the heat of the summer?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. We tried, some people have recommended this, like Jesse Frost, putting it in the like that tray in the cooler, like overnight or for 24 hours after you seed it, like your walk-in cooler, and then putting it in a shady spot until it germinates. I think it did help. I mean, it's certainly better than just trying to put it in your greenhouse and hope that it germinates in the summer, but I'm not really convinced that that's something we're going to stick with. I think next year we're just going to try a germination chamber, keep it at like 70 degrees and keep it inside our house instead of the greenhouse, and try that.
Yeah, I didn't really think about people who direct sow, but I transplant all my lettuces, and we start our lettuce seeds always inside, even like from the very beginning of the season, and it makes a huge difference. Not only are all the seeds germinating, but they germinate at the same time, which is really important. So for us, yeah, we just bring in, so we do 4 trays every week. So it's just, well, sometimes it's double that if for certain plantings, but usually it's 4 trays. And so it's really manageable to bring it in and then bring it back to the greenhouse once it pops.
Yeah, we do
Yeah,
sourdough
I do
only.
similar.
Hannah, you want to go? Or was it you, Hannah? Oops, I wasn't really looking at the screen. Who was just speaking?
Oh, yeah, it's Diane. I
Diane.
was just going to say that I do a similar thing. Yeah, I do my lettuces in soil blocks still. And I just put the trays in the shade. And if it's going to rain, I put them in the shed. And it totally works fine as long as I keep an eye on them, because it's sad when they're like in the shade for a day once they've germinated. And I put a lot of mouse traps on them because I've had, even, I don't know why it's different, but maybe the mice like the shade too. So and it works pretty well.
All right, last minute thoughts on lettuce before we move on to the next topic.
Well, just remember that lettuce does exhibit thermodormancy, so that anytime any lettuce seed gets exposed to 80 degrees or more, the germination is really going to be hampered. And that's why the cooler trick works, because it can sometimes even reverse thermodormancy. And pelleted lettuce seed, furthermore, is primed by the pelleter. And so you've even got less room for error there, because that embryo is ready to go, and if it goes but doesn't have adequate moisture to get all the way to the germination stage, to the sprouting stage, then that's when you see really poor germ in the summertime.
Right. All right, thank you, Paul. Okay, moving on to brassica. So I had a lot of people write in topics for broccolini. So I thought we'd start with that. And I'm so glad that people started growing broccolini. I know Ian did this year as well, and he had a fantastic 19-week run, which is also, I think, my max as well. So yeah, let's start with broccoli. And this isn't just broccolini, but it seems like broccolini is kind of the popular thing to grow right now. So it goes for all broccoli, but we have recommendations for the different seasons.
Yoko, can you just clarify? Are you talking about direct seeded or transplanted?
Oh, broccoli? I mean, I guess it's up to you, but I would transplant them since they are going to, they're spaced out pretty far and they're going to get large.
And that's so, I guess, because you could direct seed like broccoli rabe, but these are more like
yeah, this is not broccoli rabe. I've never grown rabe. I know we need Rachel from Forroot to talk about rabe, but yeah, but we can talk about rabe if you're interested, maybe after this. So I grow BC 1611, and I used to grow Happy Rich from the very beginning, and I think the quality just really dropped in the latest sort of seed. And so, yeah, I felt like the original Happy Rich was really tasty, and the BC was, competitive at a productivity level, but not in the flavor department. But now I'm just going to drop Happy Rich completely because it's just not the same. But BC 1611 really, pumps out a lot. And I've grown so many other broccolini varieties too, like Piracicaba from Fedco and the other ones, but it's just not as long of a harvest window for me. And oh, sorry, go on.
Okay, sorry. I'm curious if I've tried broccolini Happy Rich for the first time this year, and I'm curious what people are spacing it at, because I felt like what I got off of the row footage I planted was just nowhere near worthwhile. And I know that there's so many people who love it, and you must be getting more off of it than I did. So
well, I gotta say, I feel bad because Happy Rich, I mean, because Ian also grew Happy Rich in BC 1611 from my recommendation. And I mean, he agreed Happy Rich was just nowhere near the production level of BC. I do 2 rows, 12 inches, and that's pretty tight, but they still flourish and do well for me.
Yeah, we do pretty serious broccolini production. So we do 2-week staggered plantings pretty much all season, with the exception of like 8 weeks in the summertime, just because I found that the pest pressure, the taste is fine, they produce really well, but not worth breeding flea beetles to do it. And I echo the same thing about Happy Rich. It wasn't as good this year as it had been in the past, but I know they had the crop loss and then they're trying to bring it back. So my assumption is that has something to do with it. Melody from Johnny's was a clear winner for us this year. We hadn't grown it before this year, but really uniform, produced really well. And we do the same thing, 2 rows, 1 foot spacing. And then I have a pretty regimented harvest window that I use with it too, which is letting the initial head on most varieties except for DeSico, which is a better one to pinch if you want more side shoot production. But I actually let the main head grow pretty prolifically and then do 1 big massive harvest for the first harvest, and that gets really good weight. And I haven't found that it really reduces the amount of time we can harvest from. I found that other factors contribute to that way more than when to start harvesting. And then I prune the first 2 shoots after the main head all the way down. And then after that, we'll leave growth points to keep the harvest going. And I've had, like, the Melody we had that we planted in the drought this year that I had to like hand water to keep alive, produced for, I want to say, like 6 weeks from first harvest. It was pretty amazing.
Was there any other varieties other than Melody now?
We did the BC, which produces pretty well. I find that the amount of growth, you have to be, that one's a little bit different to harvest than Melody and Happy Rich and DeSico because there's more growth points. So to keep it kind of going and to keep the stems like big enough, you actually have to harvest them pretty long. But it's an interesting crop in that you have to really pay attention to the harvest because you can easily get another couple weeks out of it before the stems get so thin that it's just not worth it by controlling the amount of growth points you have going at any one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely gets smaller and smaller. So harvesting takes longer and longer.
Yeah,
sure.
But we found that when you do two weeks in between plantings, that you can kind of junk one if it's had problems and not worry about it, because you have the next one coming up. But if the next one coming up isn't growing well, you can kind of hang on to the previous planting, and it gets you nice continuous production where you end up having enough of it that you don't have to worry about. If you have too much of the little stems, you just say it's not worth it. And then we also sell it for a nice price too. Like I don't know, I would never grow regular broccoli again, I don't think.
We've never grown regular broccoli on our farm. Like it's just, you can't beat the 19-week harvest window.
Yeah.
And just boatloads of it every week. So.
And it's, you get that slight education of teaching people about what it is over broccoli, but once they start eating it, they also don't go back.
Exactly. It's the one thing that we can't like keep it, grow enough of. But did anyone want to speak about just regular broccoli varieties?
Yeah, we got nailed in 2021 with some like pretty heavy
I remember that. Yeah.
alternaria, which like doesn't surprise anyone because it rained like 45 days in a row or something crazy. But we switched up our fall planting slot with Emerald Crown, and it kicked ass. Like we had just big old beautiful heads. They held in the field a pretty long time, and pretty decent side shoot production as well. I mean, we had a pretty warm fall, so I think that kind of helped us out in that regard. But I was just really impressed, and we planted it pretty tight. It was 2 rows per bed, probably at 18 inches like offset, and it didn't seem to have any effect on.
I thought we did 15 inches.
Oh, maybe 15 inches. So yeah, we really like that. And then we grew I think it was Monty in like a spring slot, which also performed fine. Nothing special, but
all right. A few folks had topics on pests. So
can I just say I'd point people to Dr. Borkman, Thomas Borkman's Eastern Broccoli project. He's out of Cornell, and that's definitely worth looking at for head broccoli variety choices. He spent the last 10 years trialing broccoli, trying to expand the season into the summer.
Thanks for that tip. So how to deal with flea beetles on arugula organically? Who grows arugula all season?
We try.
We do.
That does.
The first farm we were at, Biothrips, the insect netting for summertime, was like, it's very expensive, but if you have a really big problem with flea beetles or cabbage worms, like we also do Napa cabbage year round, it pays for itself as long as you don't let it get junked up, because I found that it works pretty much like foolproof as long as you keep it pinned down.
What was the name of the thing?
It's Biothrips. It's like a breathable insect netting. So it's like row cover, but it breathes, so you don't have and there's perfect light transmission. ProtectNet is the other like brand.
ProtectNet is not a good product though. That degrades really quickly, I feel like. So
we just had Exclusion has been the name of the game for being able to actually have a harvestable crop. I mean, I also will do Pyganic, especially early in the season. If you can knock the population down for like 2 weeks early in whether like early in the summer or late in the spring, the population doesn't take off as much.
Yeah, and to that end too,
yeah.
like we've had, I mean, it all depends on scale, right? But and just like willingness to spend your time in particular ways. But we've had pretty good luck in the like early summer with diatomaceous earth as well, and it's so freaking cheap compared to some of the other pesticides, and relatively quick too. I mean, like one person can bang out a few, like, you know, a couple 100-foot beds in not that much time, and it's pretty effective at just knocking the population back, kind of like what Matt was saying, and it's, you know, you can use it in organic, certified organic applications.
Does the
My-
DE actually kill them, or is it just slow them down?
It it slices up their little exoskeletons.
I knew it worked for soft-bodied insects. I didn't know about flea beetles or not.
How do you apply it?
Usually just like ideally you would wear a mask. I mean, it's safe to consume, but the like breathing element of it is not ideal. So like wear a mask or respirator, and you know, you can use like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a kitchen strainer is kind of nice because you can scoop it out of a bucket and then, you know, just kind of shake it over, or you can use like a quart container is what we often use. I suppose you could use like I don't know, if you had a drop spreader that had enough clearance, you might be able to use it, but it might get a little like clogged up in the agitator.
And it washes off completely well.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a little bit of time at washing, but we're typically like double, if not triple washing salad greens. So it hasn't really been
Can I add something about diatomaceous earth?
Sure,
We use it in our production a lot, especially for the arugula. And the way we spread it is we use a burlap bag. Burlap bag works really well. So we just put some scoops into a burlap bag and you shake the bag in it. As long as it's not a windy day, you can't do it on a windy day. But it works really well. And when the flea beetle population it keeps it pretty well. Pressure
good idea.
Lower. But it does, if you put too much on it, we do have trouble getting it off. So we usually double wash our greens, but we'll find that when they're drying, you can see sometimes the white powder still on. So we'll have to wash it a third time. And when we wash it a third time, we really agitate it well. It's a pain in the neck because we lose, you know, that's more staff hours on the arugula. So that's the way we use it.
I just throw regular row cover over arugula all season long and it works perfectly fine. So I save my nice insect netting for other crops, other longer crops anyway. Okay, I think we need to move on. So brassica caterpillars, specifically the striped cabbage moth. I forgot who submitted this topic. But I mean, BT would work really well. Knock it down really quick.
Make sure you mix it up too.
Yeah.
Use a Centauri or something like that because you'll get the Diamondbacks and they're pretty sturdy.
Thanks, Ian. Okay, moving on. Yeah, another pest, cutworms on brassicas.
I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's a product called Antix, which they use for ants, shockingly. I think Green Earth Agriculture carries it. It's, to the best of my knowledge, chemically identical to Seduce, which is a granular spinosyd.
is what I use almost exclusively to deal with cutworms, and it's really, really good.
If you're on a small scale, I literally, you know, if it's like large plants that are getting taken down, larger, obviously I dig around immediately after, and most often you find them. So but
Online,
obviously,
what do you
what's that?
where do you have the biggest problem with cutworms?
This was not my topic, but
Oh.
in the past when who submitted this topic? I'm just wondering what brassicas you're having problems with. Or maybe they're not on the call. But yeah, if it's like a large, you know, like something that's spaced apart.
I mean, if you don't have a lot of plantings, I put a little toothpick next to the stem of whatever you have, and that's usually enough to dissuade them. That'll keep them off your plant, because they won't be able to do their little cutworm bullshit.
So you like through the plant?
No, so if I
Wait,
have a plant, I did this with transplanted cucurbits a lot. You take a toothpick and you just, once it's in the ground, you just kind of cozy it right up against the side of it.
Huh. Oh, okay.
And it will not, they won't, at least I've never, and then maybe other people have more aggressive cutworms, but mine will, that'll dissuade them from doing anything.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
They do basically any major transplants, I'll do that because they're spiteful. I had cutworms take out an entire transplant of melons one time.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was bad.
I had cutworms take out a ton of scallions, but that, you know, obviously you can't really do hand.
Antics is pretty inexpensive. You can get a shaker of it for like $40. And on a small scale, that'll last you the whole season. Because you just put a little some granulars down, like you're dealing with like Sluggo. You can also get, there's a Sluggo Plus you can buy, which is a Sluggo with spinosad, but it's a lower concentration. But if you put enough granulars down, those things eat so much that it'll probably be enough.
Right. All right, on to Asian greens. Diane, I think you had this question. Favorite late season high tunnel choice. Tried win-win, just great.
Asian delight. All day long, twice on Sunday.
And we can, you know, wrap everything together. So any favorite Asian greens? Ones that don't bolt. I do black summer now. I think Ian, that was your recommendation in the summer.
Summer, I've grown black summer for 10 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, never bolts, not a single one.
Beautiful, like I grew black summer in 100-degree heat. Those awful heat waves we had 2 years ago. Everything was dying. Tomato plants were dying. Farmers were dying. Black summer didn't care.
And I grow Komatsuna and Mizuna too, all season long, and they never bolt.
Can you say those two varieties again, Yoko? It cut out for a sec.
So the Mizuna no longer exists. I bought out the rest of Kitazawa's variety. So it was called, I think it was called Purple Mizuna. So I have to really figure out what to do after, like, I think next year. And then Carlton is the Komatsuna, and I've tried other ones, and it's
right. Summerfest. From Kazawa, Summerfest.
I might have.
Yeah, I've done Summerfest, and I like that one the best. But I can't find anyone other than them who sells it. And last year, at least, it was only small packets, but maybe they have bigger packets now.
Oh, Paul, unfortunately, I tried a high mowing one, and the color was so off. It was so light green. Bad. Yeah, it's supposed to be dark. Like Komatsuna is supposed to be a dark colored. Yeah.
Yeah. So. The high mowing one, it also gets really tall in a not so great way. I have it in the high tunnel right now, and it's hanging in there, but it's not as attractive. It always looks like it's nutrient deprived.
Yeah, it's not.
How tall does it get? How tall does it get?
Well, like a regular. Yoko, how do you say it? I always say komatsuna. Rhymes with tuna.
That's great.
But how do you really say it?
I say it with a Japanese accent because it's weird, like putting komatsuna is komatsuna.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you're saying it right.
So I'm
you're
gonna
saying
stick
it right.
with rhymes with tuna. Yeah. But Yeah, so normally in the winter time, like the Summerfest, once it's like maybe like a foot tall or something, and I would
Mhm.
take the outer leaves off and harvest it that way.
Oh, so you don't cut it as a bunch. You don't cut the whole plant and bunch them.
Not in the winter in the high tunnel. Like
Okay.
I'll like pick it more like kale.
What do you
But-
space them at?
I do it. I give it a little. It's like 8 inches.
They should. Yeah, they should. They're
It
getting.
makes it easier to pick. It
They're,
could
they're
probably
not.
be a little
They're not
closer.
crowded at all.
Yeah, but
Ian, it's also a matter of spacing too. I put 2 in a plug because I don't want it to get big. I want
do
it to
that
be
too.
pretty slender. Yeah.
I do
Whereas
that
like Mizuna needs like, it's like 1 bunch, 1 plant per plug.
yeah, in the
You want it.
summertime, I grow like 3 usually in a plug,
don't-
and I'll just like cut the whole thing and bunch it, and that's nice.
Yeah, I like that too. I don't grow it anymore, but a good fall one is Vivid Choy. It gets really pretty in the cold weather. I don't know who carries it anymore. It's got kind of like a serrated leaf, but very shallow sinuses. All kinds of cool colors, like purpley type reddish purple colors. And it's good. It's really good in the fall. But then again, can you sell it?
All right.
That's the bottom
I-
line.
I think we gotta
couple-
move on, but yeah,
oh.
any last comments?
Well, shameless, we carry Vivid Choy, but the green pak choy variety of choice I have in summer is one called Yu Choy, which is out of Territorial. It is in trials. It outlasts every green choy period. So check that one out. Our Shanghai green's okay, but not during any heat.
Shanghai green bolts so fast for me. That's why I switched to Asian Delight, which I literally left in the field for a month and a half to see how long it would take to bolt, and it didn't.
But that's a
the bug
white
ate it.
stem.
That's a
But
white.
that's a white, yeah. But
Shanghai
the Yu Choy is a
green.
yeah, is a green. Is very
It's,
very nice.
Shanghai green and Liren Choi, I've found is you just turn around and they bolt behind. Like as soon as you turn your back, they bolt on you. How do you spell that? Can you put that in chat for me? That Territorial one? Yu Choi? Somebody.
Any other comments on brassicas or questions?
Give it a look, see.
All right. On ICAs. Greenhouse tomato varieties. What are people's favorites?
Same ones as last year.
What'd you say?
Same ones as last year.
Oh,
I haven't
which
seen-
were?
Not the usual. I find that everyone can probably back me up on this. Really, it's house to house. The yellow shoulder resistant varieties. Yeah,
That's my topic.
not all seed houses will write down the genetics, but some of the more, they use the term industrial, but big scale commercial like RUP, and those guys will put in whether a given variety has a green shoulder gene or not. And that can be used to kind of guide you.
I mean, how many people have problems with this? I'm just kind of curious.
Well, everybody, I think.
Everybody? I mean, yeah, because your greenhouse soil tends to, get higher in pH and can access
It's
potassium
potassium.
and da 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 da.
Golden
What?
shoulders at 100. Golden shoulders could be. It's one of the hardest things to diagnose because it could be like 6 different things. It could be heat.
But okay, so what happened this year was, and if people have, found other varieties, please let me know, because I grew like a dozen or so varieties in the greenhouse, and BHN and
Yoko, is your greenhouse shaded? Do you have shade netting?
no.
Okay, that's your first thing. You have to do that.
Well, I don't, but the leaf, the
If you're
foliage.
having golden shoulder problems, I got yelled at by many old school farmers until I got one, and then I
That's-
see a huge difference.
It made a huge difference. Okay, that's what Dave used to say, a riverbank, and I'm like, I don't think that's it. I do think it's my pH. And the
I can second
nutrients that it
the
can't.
shade clause.
Yeah, don't forget tomatoes. Once they get over 88, 89 degrees, they lose interest in doing tomato things.
Okay.
They just don't
Well,
like it.
so okay, I remember it's Big Dana and BHN. It would be in the same row as other varieties, never showed it once. So
Probably
did
have
you
a,
think,
it's a genetics thing. I've grown both of those as well. I've never had
Yeah.
golden shoulders on them.
so it would be useful if seed, catalogs told
Celebrity,
you
I've
like,
seen it. Yeah, catalogs aren't going to put it in because it's a deterrent to market.
yeah, no, for
You're not
sure.
going to see it anywhere.
Yoko, do you fertigate with potassium?
I try to give as much potassium possible, but I don't give them potassium sulfate, and that's why I can't really get it up that quickly. So it's kind of
Yeah.
a slow process.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't use SOP, sulfate of potash.
No, I know you use like an insane amount of it. I don't use zero. I use zero.
And it just those plants that swizzle stick it right out of the ground.
Right.
I also lost almost an entire tomato crop to golden shoulders one year, like an entire tunnel because of
Yeah, I mean that's me, but I want to stay away from that, so I am using other potassium sources, but they're obviously not as high as, potassium sulfate. So,
Why are you
certified organic.
those?
because it's like really harsh for the soil biology. So I think I've got really good biology in there, and I just don't want to destroy it just for tomatoes. You know what I mean? Like everything else grows really well in there.
Have you considered using it as a foliar application, going light in
I've
the
done,
soil?
yeah, I used to do that.
Okay.
It's not really for me. I've tried to, yeah, I've done like side dressing of potassium, like all the things.
It's a limiting factor in Connecticut.
I just need to bring down the pH. That's what I think is my like first challenge.
It's gonna take a while.
I know,
We'll put,
especially without potassium.
did you put sulfur out this fall?
Well, yes, because I did put down Sulpomag. So yeah. But anyway, that's about me. So let's move on. Leaf mold resistant tomatoes with good flavor and texture for the high tunnel.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Finally caught up with me.
I got
I know that some are listed as resistant, and I can read the seed catalog, but which ones are actually worth eating is my question.
I've gone through.
This is Ian's question.
I've grown them all. I think that are up to date. Most of them. Some really don't taste good. Like I grew Cuba Libre, which is a beautiful like beast of a plant. Really inconsistent fruit quality, especially later in the season. I grow Gin Fizz, which is I grow Mai Tai this year, which was a lot smaller than I thought it would be. Gin Fizz, the plants, there's no perfect one. Everyone has a wart. Like Gin Fizz, the plants tend to be shorter and a little spindlier. I don't know if that's just me, but Marnero, I got hit with Stemphilium. So a lot of the ones that are really good at resisting leaf mold aren't resistant to Stemphilium, which is the gray leaf mold. There's not one that's perfect that I could find. Margold is still pretty damn good. It's resistant, and the flavor, it retains its flavor quality pretty well, and it's a stronger plant. The plant has pretty good fruit size. Marbone I grew, I wasn't impressed. Gold shoulders on that one pretty quickly. Cuba Libre I would steer clear from. That could have been a nutritional thing for me. The plants are beautiful, but it's kind of a false promise. If you're looking for a pretty good leaf mold resistant determinate red slicer, it's old school, but it's pretty good, is Primo Red, and the flavor is pretty good. I've grown Primo Red for like 3 years now. It's determinate. It's a true determinate. It's not like BHN 589 where it's like a determinate-ish. It's a legit determinate. It doesn't get very big, but it'll push fruit for a while. I harvested it well in September. Let me dig around for some notes.
That's a good start, though.
Was the question about texture and flavor? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, leaf mold resistant tomatoes with good flavor and texture.
Yeah,
for the high tunnel.
We had hybrids and rootstock grafted heirlooms. And once the heirlooms started coming in, it was like, no, there was no comparison to flavor and texture. Just the hybrids were great, and they, very vigorous and good production. But in terms of flavor and texture, our grafted stuff blew all the hybrids out of the water.
Yeah, that might be the route I have to go because I've always done all heirlooms and just, paid the price. But they're so much better. Like people really
grafted
value
heirlooms won't protect you from leaf mold though. Grafts only handle everything below they're for root diseases.
Well, I think the added vigor.
Maybe the added vigor, right? The added vigor might just give more insulation against it. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, it is obviously if it's once you got it in the house, even stuff that's resistant, if you let it get bad enough, we got it pretty bad because our greenhouse leaks. So we luckily had a dry season, but it's a little bit of moisture in there, and even the hybrids we had that for it definitely got it as well.
The best bet
but
go ahead.
I was just gonna say if the real like number one goal is flavor and texture, I just go for treating my heirlooms as nicely and as well as I can.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for us it was fine. The hybrids were all for good for like wholesaling and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you really got to have the flavor, you just vent the crap out of your tunnel, baby them, scout like crazy, oxidate like crazy, foliar application of beneficial bacteria, whatever you like to use, and just hope
I ended up. Oh, how did it go? So, it got hot. I don't have it shaded, but I'm going to do that for this coming year. And so I had a lot of blossom drop anyway, and the leaf mold was bad. And I was like, we'll see what happens. And I just kind of gave up. I had hybrid ones in there and they did okay, but they had more of a problem with yellow shoulders. And so I wonder if they just have different potassium needs. But then once it started cooling off, all of the heirloom varieties recovered and set a whole nother crop. And
you love the fall.
We just ate our last tomato yesterday that, it's been in the house. It's planted to cold weather stuff now, but so they kind of rebounded for the fall. The heirlooms did. Yeah.
Do you want to finish off what you
No,
were
go
saying?
ahead.
While we're on the topic of tomatoes and grafted tomatoes, does anyone have rootstock varieties that are, their favorites? Go-tos? Or maybe you guys buy it grafted already? Maybe? Okay, then
we tried a couple different varieties, but nothing like jumped out. Been like, this is the one.
Okay. Did you do your own, Matt?
Yeah, we didn't trial them like side by side, so it's hard to say like seasonality wise, like which rootstock might do better. But it was never year to year so drastically different that I was like, we should try this again. We usually just go with whatever Johnny's is like, this one's good, and it's not the brand new one that costs like $7 a seed or whatever.
All right. Quickly, let's go through tomatillos, eggplants, and potatoes.
We're looking for varieties here.
Yep. Or any comments or whatever.
Tomatillos, I grow 100 feet of them if I can. I had a crop failure this year, so I didn't grow any. But I find cage them, put them about 3 feet apart, cage them, gang all the cages together, and to anchor it with some U-posts so that when you get a wind event, you don't get a domino effect. That happened to me one year. That was fun. And let them go. Let them just run rampant. I don't prune them or anything. I just let them go.
That's what I wanted to ask, if anyone prunes their tomatillos. We haven't yet, but we work with a Latino population that likes their tomatillos as big as possible. So I'm thinking about pruning next year. Yeah, does anyone prune their tomatillos or have a variety? I know Johnny's, yeah.
I have a good variety. It gets about that big.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? A little bit, maybe a little smaller than an apple.
Oh.
Tamayo.
Where, do you know what company?
No, it's every. It used to just be out west, but now everybody carries it. Give me a second. I'll find it.
All right, I saw Johnny's just came out with like Super Verde, and I was like, oh, interesting.
No. Now this one, there's two varieties, and one is later than the other, and they're about the same size. So I plant them both half and half, so that there's a staggered kind of pick. But I did that, and I don't think you really have to do it. Let me mute. I'm gonna dig around.
Okay. All right. In the meantime, can we talk about eggplants, pests and diseases? I think Brittany asked that, and potatoes, potato varieties. So this year I finally was able to have a decent crop of eggplants, and the trick was to keep it covered as long as possible. That really helped.
Same here. That's exactly what we figured out last year, Yoko.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I was like a few years late, but same thing with the cucumbers too. Like we usually have a ton of cucumber beetles, and we just had that on, let the first wave kind of pass, and then we like uncovered it, and it was great. So sometimes it's as simple as that, I guess.
Did you cover them with like regular row cover or protect net kind of stuff?
The insect netting, yeah. It'll get too hot with the row cover, I think.
You could do row cover with potatoes before your first tilling, and that's really helpful. Exclusion. The thing about pests is always trying to just interrupt generational cycles. So if you can catch 2 generations in a row, usually you set yourself up for success. That even if when they come back, predators have come in and their population never can get crazy out of control. We had terrible flea beetles and potato beetles in our eggplant this year because we didn't do potatoes. But once it basically just slowed them down. Like I find the eggplants are like, they always catch flea beetles and potato beetles. And it just prevents early eggplant. Eventually they can grow out of it.
Not always.
I suppose if it's bad enough.
Brittany, were there
yeah.
like particular, oh, sorry, you can finish what you were saying that.
Well, I was just saying that exclusion's like your best bet, like with sprays and all that sort of stuff. You have to get the timing really, really perfect usually.
I know. For the longest time I watched 4Root like cover everything. I was like, I'm never gonna do that. And then here I am. But yeah, I wanted to ask Brittany if there was any particular diseases or pests you had in mind.
I think Brittany had to jump off.
Oh, really? I know. I was gonna force her to say something, but I guess okay. All right.
This is a little off topic, but not that much. Anyone have like a cataclysmic rodent year?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did everybody, did I miss that
It's
part?
crazy.
Did we talk about the insanity of the rodents this year?
It's crazy. I've got several rats living in my field right now too.
I had a 80% loss on sweet peppers this year.
Oh, I have rat sympathy. I can send you information about excellent rat traps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah? Okay, send the group.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I mean, the best I've found at least.
They ate all our Asian eggplant too. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, Ian, I lost like 75% of my potatoes.
It was bananas. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. Yep. Oh, potatoes. Quickly. Potato varieties. Favorite ones. Shoot them off.
Really site specific. Some people have scab problems, some people don't. Some people have drought problems. I have awful leaf hoppers, so things that, some are as palatable as leaf hoppers.
There were like no leaf hoppers this year, I feel like.
It was a pretty low year, which is why I had the best potato crop and we've had in 13 years.
Mhm.
We're right next to an alfalfa field, so when they mow the alfalfa, all the leaf hoppers just come right to the potatoes. Super. So I just planned for it, and I'm like, well, thanks for defoliating. Now I don't need to mow. And I'm just gonna, so I don't grow late season potatoes because they don't finish.
Oh
But
yeah,
we did
no way.
baby gold, and those were pretty nice.
What is it? Baby gold?
Daisy gold.
Oh, basic.
I think I've got that right.
Oh, one thing that was good for me was chieftain.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, that was really good.
They don't carry it anymore. Allison doesn't, but Papa Cacho, which was that real kind of long, like cigar length, kind of reddish one. Leafhoppers, they wanted nothing to do with that. It was incredible. I just wouldn't eat it. But I don't think they carry it anymore. Purple ones they love. They smoke purple plants for some reason.
Hey, Yoko, am I
Yes.
correct? I saw on Instagram, do you guys do 2 rows per bed on a?
Potatoes, yep. 2 rows, 12 inches, I'm sure. Pretty sure. Okay.
Pinto is my favorite potato variety.
Pinto?
I grow Pinto's fun.
I like Pinto too.
Like flavor and looks, like I don't think any other potato can
If
touch
you
it.
don't have scab in your
It's-
soil, it's incredible because they're so beautiful.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yields aren't always awesome, but
The folks over at Massaro Farm, it's their favorite potato right now too. And I farm somewhere where we absolutely cannot grow potatoes, but one year I grew this variety called Red Gold as a new potato in our high tunnel, and it was the best, most delicious thing I think we've ever grown.
Red
And
gold is delicious, but
Only grow
able to
them as
find
new
it.
potatoes.
yeah,
productivity
that's
has
it.
been
I've
going
never
down
seen
every year for me.
Somebody
Okay.
get burned so fast by bugs like that. It was like in early, like late
Wild.
July. Incredible.
Yeah, I think I had them in the high tunnel in like late February covered, and it was great as a new potato, but that's the only potato we've ever been able to grow here.
They're beautiful. They are super tasty. I remember them really clear. I remember being upset because they're all like this big because they got burned so early.
No, they're so delicious though. I love red gold flavor wise. Okay.
Satina,
Cribbits. Oh, sorry. Any last?
shout out Satina. Satina has been a good
Yeah,
like
Satina's-
Yukon Gold.
Satina's my
replacement.
flagship. Satina's my
Yeah, Satina's great.
Yep.
All right. Late season cukes. I think this is Diane again.
Yeah, we have incredibly like figured out cukes, love them. By the time like mid to late August come, or like
Okay,
late
what exactly do you have in that late part of the season?
like for cucumbers or
Like what
variety?
diseases and like
Oh.
what is not good about it?
I feel like we just literally get everything. Like we
Everything.
just get slammed. So do the same.
Powdery, downy, anthracnose,
Yeah,
bugs,
everything.
hail, locust.
It's the plague.
It's like plagues. You know, the person to talk to about this is Dig, because he grows late season. But you got to understand, really the key is volume. You have to plant a ton of them because you're not going to keep them pretty. You
It's
just-
also Digga also has like insect netting all over his houses.
He also,
so-
and I do too. My houses are locked in, but
Mm.
you have to be so diligent with it. Like we're redesigning everything because they found a way in.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I always
Yoko.
wonder about that.
Yoko, we're about the same size. Do you do like
Around.
Late season. So yeah, I always blame my first year. We accidentally trapped cucumber beetles under this radish planting, and when I uncovered it, like billions flew out of it, and I feel like that seeded like the cucumber beetle population for years to come. So we've been battling it pretty hard, and then this year we finally had success. And the last. It wasn't that bad. Honestly, it was the varieties that like I tried a unagi this year and it was terrible. It was
I
just
grow
like
that. I love unagi. I've had pretty.
that was the only one that would like immediately, and unfortunately that was the one I grew like 80% of. And so that was the one immediately got diseased and everything else was like super healthy next to it. So I don't know what it is about that.
I find
variety.
the first planting, whenever that goes in, is always the best. Like I'll be harvesting that one while the second one fruits and then goes to shit, and then the third one fruits and goes to shit. For some reason, I'll still be picking the first one.
Yep.
And that's because that's usually like Corinto and the beefier early season ones, which there's a reason Corinto's been around for an eternity. It's a beast.
Just very validating. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone figures this out, has beautiful cukes at the end of the season, then let us all know what you're.
I use Surround pretty
Secret.
religiously, and I used double nickel this year. I splurged and got double nickel, and I used Surround mixed with double nickel pretty regularly, and it kept my plants really, really clean. Unfortunately, things get crazy and you stop spraying that, and as soon as you just a little tiny window, they smoke you out. So if you can keep them out and keep that stuff applied, you can probably push it pretty far. But I mean, best laid plans.
So if downy mildew is the issue, and I suspect that is the death knell for most of fall cucumbers, we're starting to see now just the second iteration or second generation of downy mildew resistant breeding coming through. The two epicenters for that are Cornell and unfortunately UNH. That was Dr. Brent Loy. He's passed away,
So
but
sad.
his research is still there. So if you do some research on those variety lines, they're quite good. Most of that seed production is in the conventional world, not in the organic world, although there are a couple of organic varieties available. But then as far as the beginning of the season, if bacterial wilt has become a problem, and I presume it has, then you're looking to try to figure out how to control your cucumber beetles. And it was pretty exciting to see some research that Agritech out of Cornell was doing about exclusion with a product called TechKnit, which kind of goes back to one of those woven products you guys mentioned, ProtectNet, and a couple of others, but there's another one called TechKnit. And so they were doing some exclusion with cucumbers early in the season to keep the cucumber beetles out. And they were having to play around with pollination, and that was kind of an issue, but there's some research going on there. And I think that's movement in the right direction. So beginning of the season, to get through bacterial wilt, but at the end of the season, you really do have to start, just like with basil, you have to start really moving towards downy mildew resistant varieties.
Excelsior is a pickler I've grown, which downy's so weird because there's so many different races of it. You never know which one you're going to get. I mean, I have had years where one variety is completely dead and the one right next to it is fine, and now the one's resistant. Just happen to like that one and not that one. Excelsior was pretty good. I've had a good success with that. There's another one I'm forgetting. There's others that I grew on the ground. Bristol, I think, was one. It was a pickler that was pretty solid.
There's a new pickler called Provision. It's got intermediate resistance.
Yeah, you just want to. It's something that doesn't die is slower, I guess, is the goal there. But that's tricky because it's such a highly variegated disease.
It might just be that,
Yeah.
the part of the season too, Diane, it's like getting colder at night and they're just like not as happy as the spring first,
I know that
planting.
Socrates and I think Lagos or Manny, they market as being good cooler weather producers. I don't know anything. I've grown them, but off the top of my head, I can't remember if they have any kind of resistance packages. I kind of, at that stage of the game, I welcome the downy. Just come in and take it away from me. Especially if you're tired, you're like, all right, well, that decision was made for me. Moving on.
Well, you
we
mentioned
had good success with Katrina and Socrates,
That's a good one.
and especially if you're doing the exclusion stuff because they self-pollinate and don't need the pollinators. And to echo what I was saying about the tomatoes, unlike tomatoes, we found that there's, besides like cool shapes and stuff, flavor-wise, hybrids are great. They don't that much difference.
Especially people who have GI things with the seeds. They're actually, I think, preferable because the low small seed cavities.
All right, melons. I don't grow them anymore, so.
I'm growing them under a caterpillar tunnel. I have to take, a cat tunnel that I have to rotate through. So I'm going to try them under a cat tunnel, see what happens.
Cantaloupes and liked those. I want to try, maybe it's called True Love, but those were sold out by the time I got around to ordering.
Digga grew those, and I think.
Yeah, he's the one who recommended it,
Yeah.
but I didn't get to try them.
First kiss shares a parent, so pretty similar.
Again, rodents took their multiple pounds of flesh on this one. Sugar cube's fun. It's pretty consistent.
Has anyone had any luck with honeydews?
No, never. I've tried gallias and lambkins and stuff, and I've never really had much success with them.
If you want to try honeydews, potentially go for the Asian varieties, because I think they tend to be a little more prolific. We had everybody at farmers market was raving about seeded watermelons because you just can't get seeded watermelons in the grocery store anymore. So don't buy seedless watermelons. I know everyone will just go to the grocery store instead.
They just taste better.
Yeah, they taste better.
Because you got to eat the seeds. That's part of the experience. People spit the seeds out, eat them.
We did tons of sugar baby, which are great because they're uniform, prolific, small. People don't want mega melons. Some people want mega melons, but most people don't. And some Baker Creek heirlooms we did was Alibaba, which is like a elongated light blue one that's flavor wise is like awesome, like Middle Eastern variety.
I've grown that.
Yeah, it's really good. And what was Moon and Stars is always it just looks pretty, and it usually always tastes good. They tend to get pretty massive though.
I grew what's the yellow one? Sunshine, Yellow Daw. People always rave about those. They're the yellow flesh. I grew New Queen, which is an orange one, which is okay.
Did anyone grow the Lilanu orange sweet glow this year? That was like a new sweet orange one that came out in the past year or two. Yeah, ours were kind of mealy, so I was just curious if anyone else tried them out.
Melons are so finicky.
We did sorbet one year, which was pretty good. We also had someone return
is that a
a
seedless
melon
one?
because it wasn't there. Yeah, I mean it just doesn't have black seeds. Like it's not fully seedless. They just don't show up. But we had someone return a melon to our farm stand because they were expecting red flesh and it was like an orange.
You throw it at them?
No, they were like, they said that it didn't taste good. But there was no bite marks out of it. Or
Osmosis.
No, we ate it in front of them as soon as they returned it.
Yoko, you're not growing melon? You should try.
Oh, we do grow watermelons.
Mm-hmm.
We every year we change what we grow. This year we grew Natsu Coco, and well, Alex harvests them, but he says that's the best because the sizes are uniform and it's not like overwhelming, because usually there's way too many watermelons at a certain point, but with Natsu Coco it's like a nice steady production. And according to Alex, it's easier to tell which ones are like definitely good inside, so we're gonna go with that again. Okay, winter squash.
Ugh.
I think I bought winter squash seeds from.
It was a good year. It was a good squash year, I thought.
Yeah.
Well,
I
because
feel like we could always do
getting
more
melon.
delicata.
I know. Oh yeah, I bought all my seeds from Uprising this year. The Zeppelin delicata, so good. But
I-
delicata in general is really good. So, and
How do you guys cure? How do you guys cure your delicata? Or you just try to sell it as fast as possible?
ASAP.
Sell it, yeah.
Yeah.
Do a second planting that's later. Then you get more like less ripe ones at the end of the season.
I tend to leave, as per the instructions of the late and great Dr. Loy. I write down when all of my plants start setting fruit, and then I count from that point. I don't do days to harvest because one of the things they always stressed was people pick winter squash way too early all the time. Like an acorn squash has a ground spot and everything, a full like 3 weeks before you should take it off the vine. Out of grow acorn squash, but as an example. So I tend to leave stuff out there a lot longer. And with delicata, it's delicata. It's just, everything hits it so quickly. I found that was pretty effective, like the butternuts, making sure you leave them out. A lot of people use the eye test, but you really should go a little longer than that. I was just wondering if you guys have any tricks. I grew it for chefs because they begged me, and I'm not going to do it again with delicata. It's just too much maintenance.
yeah, there was a Johnny's variety of butternut. It was so good. It was a mini one.
Honey boat, I think. The copper.
No.
Pretty.
Are
you thinking of honey
but
nut?
baby? No, it wasn't honey nut. It was like
Honey
baby
boat.
something, isn't it?
Honey boat.
Anyway, it was very tasty. Okay. Any more comments on winter squash?
Did anybody do honey nut this year? I just feel like it's such an overrated. Like it's hot, and then in 2 years, no one's gonna want it anymore.
Well, it doesn't keep real well.
No, they
Oh,
don't
okay.
keep.
I grow smaller. You can go to 7 Row Seed and buy their overpriced seed, but there's an identical, literally the same exact seed is available from High Mowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got mine
The
from
creme
High-
brulee, right?
Yeah, brulee is the same thing as whatever that. It's bred by the same dude. It's
I think
I
they
have
sell
both.
honey nut itself. I don't know, but we have an expert here. But yeah, whatever it was, I grew it and people really liked it. And it is a little sweeter, a little denser. So if I'm like roasting butternut, like on a sheet pan, honey nut. If I'm making pie, regular butternut. But they're all wizened by now. So you have to move them faster.
So I was able to look up the variety. It's called Butter Baby. And a lot of
Okay.
people growing it. So good.
Yeah, we brought Butter
we
Baby
did-
in this year, and we're pretty pleased with it in the trials.
Yeah.
And Brulee is just a regular colored stout, sort of personal sized butternut, and honey nut has that darker skin, and yes, it does not keep as well, but market is depends on where you are, I guess, but like the market continues to be really strong for that for whatever reason.
Honey nut also has that modeling on it, right? It can have some of that greenish modeling to it. It's very attractive.
We did butterscotch 2 seasons ago, which is a mini butternut. It might be the same as similar vein as the brulee, but that one was really tasty and people appreciated that. It kept well and people like the smaller size.
Butterscotch has PMR, so it's
Yeah.
got that added benefit.
Okay, guys, I think we need to pick up the pace a tiny bit. So any last comments on winter squash? We good to go? Okay, we kind of talked about downy mildew. Did you guys want to talk about it a little bit more? Well, I don't know if this person used the newest, the resistant basil. But that's powdery mildew.
I had a funny situation. I don't know if anyone else had this. I grew the DMR, the Prospera large leaf, and not the Genovese, and it's distinctly different from a Genovese. And this year, Johnny's changed their description to say that it's similar to Nufar And the other one is similar to Aroma too. And New Far I've grown, and it's has a lot of the Thai genetics in it. It's very anisette flavored. If you guys really want a true Genovese, stay away from the large leaf because it's again a much different flavor than the other one. Just a public service announcement.
I grew the compact one and it was amazing. And I feel like the compact ones get really large, so I don't know why you need to go for the large leaf. Huh?
I might try those.
Yeah, I really like the compact. Can we move on to squash vine borers? I actually don't really have problems with them. Used to have it in my garden years ago, but
You
what
can
do you guys
use
think?
you can use some trust for them. It's an off-label kind of technique, but I don't think
There you go.
you're not labeled for it, but how I was told to do it by one of the best in the business was you put out your traps as soon as they show up. Every week you spray the collars of your plants. So maybe 8 inches of stem from the soil up with entrust and a sticker like New Film. Every week, just the collar, not the flowers, just the collar. Was that probably the end of June until maybe the end of July, beginning of August, and then at that point, it doesn't really matter. I've done that, and I've never. In the past 4 years, I've done that. I've never had an issue with them, and they used to wipe me out.
All right, good tip.
Any of the Peppo and the Maxima.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like we've just switched mostly to Moscata or Moscata crosses.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do, probably, honestly.
Yeah.
Well,
All
people
right.
want something. So if you have if you do spaghetti squash or zucchini, you could just use that technique for those guys.
Okay, can we move on? APACA. Cutting celery. It's like the new thing. I feel like everyone's talking about it. I think it was Hannah's comment. I've never grown them. I don't know. Is it newly offered on? I thought I saw on Johnny's, but
It's old school. We used to grow them off and on for a long time. It's
oh,
great.
okay. See, I don't know anything about them. So, have people grown them? Is it worth it?
It's a pot herb. It's good for making soup and stuff, at least from my experience. It's never going to be supermarket celery.
Yeah.
We grow cutting celery, and because I just can't grow celery, so we grow cutting celery. It overwinters and you can use it in the spring, but then it goes to flower and not so good after that. But my members love it. It grows like parsley. You use the stems like you'd use a celery stem, but you only need a little bit in your cooking. It's really great in all of your salads and all of your soups. It's almost bitter. It's a very strong celery flavor. Really easy to grow. We offer it as an herb in all our CSA shares.
Great for that. It's super flavorful.
Really strong.
Cool. All right, then carrots, rainbow carrots, and just carrot varieties in general. I know I said this last year, but I love romance, so that's my carrot.
Yeah, we abused some romance this year and they still came out great.
It's hard to get off the Napoli Bolero train.
You use romance for
Mokum.
storage carrots too, or do y'all have special, specific varieties you use for storage? I know Bolero is the popular one, but
If you have any disease issues, Bolero is the way to go. But if you don't have disease issues, I don't think it's a must-have.
Yeah, I mean, romance lasts forever, for months.
We did the Atlas, which is the Parisian market carrot, the little guys. It was a little bit of a tough sell, but I like them for uniformity, and you can get away with more dense plantings as long, as long as they're not too dense, but
I know Jesse from No
they're
Till
nice.
Growers loves them.
And then we just do sugar snacks, Mocha Bolero.
Sugar snacks get so damn long. I like that, but they're
Mokum is our favorite summer carrot, but for the fall, our favorite carrot to grow is Touchtone Gold, our Touchstone. It's a yellow carrot. It's a little fibrous, but the flavor is really great. And you have to harvest them on time because they get too big. But they're really beautiful and members love them. I forget where we get the seed. I think it's probably Johnny's.
Did you say you grew that in the fall, Deborah? Sorry.
Yeah, we grow that as a fall. We grow that for a storage carrot. They've never stuck around long enough to know how they store well. At least not in my house. We grow those. We partner those with usually Bolio, and then we grow a red carrot too, Red Sun, I think. But Red Sun is more like a summer carrot. I don't know why we grow that in the autumn. I think it's just because it's the best red carrot we've ever grown is the Red Sun, and it does well for us.
I think I'm
Anybody
done
else?
with the rainbow carrots.
yeah.
Yeah, we were done years ago with.
They do look nice, but that's literally it.
I don't
I
think
know. I got my
birds,
picture and I'm
innovation.
done.
So wrong. They're delicious and beautiful and all the things. There's this yellow heirloom carrot I really like. It's French. This is gonna sound horrible, but it's like Juan or Juan Dubes. I'm gonna put that in. But it's really great. It will get like humongous. It has lovely texture. It stores really well, only for the fall. I only grow it for the fall. It's super cold hardy, really strong tops. It's just like awesome all around. It's a more herby tasting than a regular orange carrot. So if you feel like branching out.
Oh, one thing I must say, with carrot seed, also romance in particular, I think this was last year, but you know how maybe it was 2020 when the pandemic started and it was chaotic, I'm sure, at the seed companies, and they give you like smaller packets, where it could be like one large packet. They would send you like 10 smaller packets or something, and like the seed sizes were like would be half as big as what we used to get, that kind of stuff. And then we'd get them to send us larger seeds because we already have a system of using like particular seed size, the rollers, seed plates. And so I just wonder if people have found that with any seed, not just like carrots specifically, but like just finding that seed sizes are all over the place. And I know what Johnny's does. I know like the top customers get the largest seeds and but I just wonder if that's been a problem with anybody.
That's interesting because we like our carrot seeds this year our carrot plantings this year were way less dense than they ought to have been. So I'm wondering if we got larger seeds, didn't really pay attention.
Always check that, like how many seeds per pound, because it's like wildly different. Like
I think I just used the roller we've used in the past, and that might have been what did me in.
Yeah.
There's a couple things worth mentioning here. Seed sizing kind of comes before the seed company. And so in this case, Bejo they're sizing seeds. So you're probably right that, certain lots might have come in with more seeds per pound, and they might have packed those into smaller seed sizes for the home gardener size. But then, and like you're probably also right that, when things weren't coming in the way they were supposed to from overseas, most of these carrots are actually grown in the West Coast, but then they get shipped back to the Netherlands for processing. And so then they got stuck on boats, and then midway through the summer, Bejo started flying them around the world. So all that said, seed sizing, yeah, is pretty important. But and can be important for your seed density, but also at the same time, organic seed is definitely experiencing some challenges when it comes to germination percentage, and that has to do with a pest on the west coast of the US that's really causing a lot of trouble. And so those seeds are coming in blank, basically, because the lygus bug, which is basically a tarnished plant bug, is causing a lot of havoc. So do know that organic seed is coming in with, mid 70s germ. So you do have to also recalibrate based on that. And we can help you do that, or you can.
Is that across the board?
Organic?
I mean, I always look out for like across plant families, or is it certain?
Well, it's carrot seed production in Northern California and Oregon. And
okay, carrots specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just have to look at your germ percentage and kind of go from there. And that's why you're not seeing a ton of pelleted carrot seed, because the germ is already low. And like, as soon as we get them back from the pelleter, they've dropped at least 2 points, period. And again, they're primed. And so then their shelf life is low. So not only do we have, low germ carrots, we're sort of playing that now. We're really, kind of dicey with pelletizing, though we did get some high 70s, low 80s this year, which is really great. And so we did do a lot of pelleting run, and you'll probably see those in other seed catalogs as well.
Thanks, Paul. It's great information. Can we move on to the next page? Okay. So alliums and quinopods. So onions, and I think this is my topic. I know Rosa de Milano is not available this year. Any red onion recommendations from anyone?
Red Wing is a good variety from Johnny's.
Did Rosa have a crop failure?
I don't know. Okay,
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, that's a bummer. The Red Wings is solid.
Okay,
it depends on what you're looking for, but if you're looking for a good red storage, I would highly recommend red carpet.
Is it substantively better than Red Wing? I grew it once, but it was a bad year, and I don't think it was indicative of what it is. Is it substantially better than Wing?
I think so.
Okay.
Vitalis has a great onion. It's not available organically yet. It starts with a B. We're trialing it. They've talked about moving that into the organic orbit. It's like Osborne people carry it conventionally. I think Johnny's has it. And so that might be one to play around with, knowing that it will, I think, eventually become organic. It's an excellent red storage onion, very well papered, probably a little better than red carpet, even though I am a big fan of that one.
So Paul, when you say the red carpet's really good, is that on all characteristics, or just the storability, or?
It's great red onion. I mean, we have Cabernet and red carpet. And so Cabernet doesn't store, it's earlier. So it's,
I haven't had,
Cabernet would be a little bit more in line with the Red Wing as far as sort of a multi-purpose onion, but isn't going to be considered like a deep store, like red carpet. And, red onions don't store as well as yellows, period. But,
Barolo, is that the one you were talking about?
That's the one. That's a badass onion.
Yeah, I was gonna try that one. Cool.
We did Cabernet, which is really pretty. I mean, I personally, for the storability of anything, we never grow enough onions. So
yeah,
I thought that until this year, and then somehow this year we had like a crazy crop of onions. So it'll happen, Matt. So the next one is, I think, Brittany's one, but yeah, beets, direct seeded versus transplanted.
Transplant.
I
all the way.
personally like transplanting.
Transplant.
Yeah, we switched to transplanting this year, and I'll never go back.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only thing is like the cleaning is a little bit more intensive, we found, with like the root ball still being intact. But we have more marketable beets, so
Mhm. Cool. Okay. Next page. Other. So someone mentioned okra. I grow Clemson spineless, jambalaya, and the crimson something, the red one. They're all great. We grow 3 because they all kind of come in at different well, no, they all come in at once, but so I think it was the Clemson spineless that's like stronger in the later in the season. Red is kind of like uniform throughout, I feel like, but yeah, it's good to have several different ones.
what are your
Right.
yields looking like on, because like
On
I don't-
okra,
yeah.
we never, like, we always at the peak of the season, we always have too much to sell. Like we can't sell all of it.
Are you potting up significantly before transplanting?
No,
I mean, we
they're
also
just in 50 cells.
Okay. I just can't. It just doesn't seem worth it to me after.
It's a really profitable crop.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
It
it's
depends
just,
on your market for sure.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. We have a lot of Japanese
We
customers, so
couldn't
they know what to do with
yet. Only Indian customers buy it from us for the most part, and they will not buy red, only green.
it.
So
Yeah, it's
we're not gonna do
definitely
red next
people who
year.
know what to do with it.
Will, you could try planting later. All problems I've had with transplanting out has been putting it out too early.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I feel like our plants end up looking fine. It's just like they don't seem to be producing so much.
And also, I mean, we could be a little bit colder than both of you because we're up in northwestern Connecticut. And
No, we're definitely colder.
yeah, you guys are in a bit of a cold pocket.
They're
But
actually in Alaska, but it's in
What's your spacing? What are you doing for spacing?
I think it was 2 rows of 15.
Yeah, I think it was 15.
Oh, that's too close, I think.
Too close.
Yeah, 2 feet.
Yeah.
2 feet.
I
2 feet.
do
All right.
one
makes
row
sense, I guess.
at 18 inches.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, we did 2 rows one year and it was just insane. You can't get through you can't, harvesting is just a pain, so.
Literally a pain.
Yeah. Well, Alex does it, so, but he has to like suit up. Is somebody gonna say something? Okay. The next one is mine. I just thought if people had like flower plants that sell really well during their plant sale, I thought I'd ask.
I mean, I think every single flower we grow, people buy.
I know, that's what I'm finding too.
You know?
That's why I'm
Yeah.
like thinking of like spicing it up this year and like doing milkweed, and not like the regular milkweed.
Go
but
for stuff that germinates easy, and people buy in bulk, zinnias, stuff like that. You know what I
Also,
mean?
like pollinators, we found more and more people are interested in pollinators and natives.
Oh yeah, we always sell a lot of borage and stuff, and that's like super.
And I think with that, like, stick to the ones that are easy to, because like you don't want to get into freaking like stratifying seed for your.
Yeah.
So
some of those flowers are ridiculously difficult to get germinated, and it's just not worth your time.
Right.
So like the black-eyed Susans, I think are relatively straightforward. The
Rudbeckia, any of those guys, sunflower family, sunflowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calendula.
Yep, calendula's good.
I know, I feel bad like selling sunflowers sometimes. Like,
Don't feel
I
bad.
feel
put
similarly.
this.
Like, can I just give you a seed packet?
Yeah, some people ask for beans, and I'm like, I'm doing you a favor by not selling them. Like, just buy your damn seeds. Okay, cool. Thanks for all those suggestions.
Hey, I might have missed this. I think I did. No Escamillo this year. Does anyone have a game plan who grows Escamillo to?
Wait, they don't have Escamillo? Really?
No, it's seed failure.
Well,
I don't know
last
if
year's
that's I don't
germ
know if
rate
that's
was pretty low
unilateral.
too. Right.
Anyone?
No.
I'm looking at a couple catalogs and I'm seeing seed failure for Escamillo.
It looks like they have it in stock at Johnny's right now, according to the website.
Yeah, I thought I
But
saw that too.
It's deeply discounted, so it might be. Well,
It's
not-
probably old seed.
Yeah.
Because like the germination for Escamillo this year was 70%, and I thought that was outrageous.
And they literally take a pinky for Oranos. So,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get as big, it's smaller. At least the ones I grew. Has anyone
took-
ever grown like
I-
Gatherer's Gold or anything?
Sorry, what was the question?
Gatherer's Gold or the Marconi? Has anyone grown those other Corno de Toros?
Yeah, it's just a matter of, do you want yellow or does the color not matter?
I want yellowish orange. I find Escamillo wiggles, and sometimes it's more yellow, sometimes it's more orange. The Oranos was like orange. That was consistent, but it was small. They're only like that big. Some of those Escamillo is a beast. So
Yeah.
I've grown Cornito Giallo,
yeah,
the yellowy orange. And it's not as big as Escamillo, but it's pretty productive and it does fine.
Okay.
So,
There's plenty of Escamillo.
is there? I don't know what these guys' problem is then. They're on the ball. All right.
Do you know why the germination rate is so low?
I'd have to look at
Well,
ours.
this is
I don't-
from Johnny's, but
Yeah,
I
we-
don't know, maybe other seed companies.
You keep your seeds hot enough, right? I have a bastard of a time trying to get peppers germinated. If they get too chilly, they really want to be pretty toasty.
I'm looking at our germ, but you guys can keep going.
So yeah, I just have this other page, but
That's really
it's just kind of, it's actually just a comment from someone. Oh, Matt, I think you asked the beneficial plants. I don't really
Yeah,
do
maybe.
Well, I guess, yeah, I have a hedgerow now with a bunch of perennials, so that helps, but in the bed, I don't know. I've tried like nasturtiums to keep cucumber beetles away, but that's like not a thing.
Maggot control.
Just on the beneficial plants, we grew like on a whim some Wakatai from True Love seeds in 2020, and it's in the marigold family, but it's like harvested for the leaves. Restaurants loved it. It was pretty popular at farmers markets. If you have like South American clientele, they like go crazy because it is used in a like chili. It's like basically like a chili mint sauce. It's crazy. But it is in the marigold family, so it you know, and it's highly fragrant, so it does pass along some like pest deterrent properties. But like, I don't know, I didn't trial it. I couldn't give you like, you know, population reductions or anything like that, but it's kind of fun, and you can just like direct seed it on the edge of the tunnel and it grows into this nice like hedge basically.
Oh, actually, has anyone done like alyssum? And I just want to know if that turns into like Weed City the next year of alyssum.
I'll be able
That's
to
like
tell you
our
next
main
year.
one.
Oh, I've always been like, but wouldn't that reseed itself and like?
We grow sweet alyssum as a cover crop under our cherry tomatoes.
Okay,
and
yeah.
It's also a beneficial flower. It brings in the wasps, but we let it, we leave it in the beds. We don't pull it out at the end of the season. Actually, they just died. And we don't have a problem with them reseeding themselves.
Oh, okay. Cool. Good to know.
This will be our 4th year growing them.
they're so spindly in the beginning of like right when they germinate that if you're doing something like direct seeded, I haven't had problems, and that's the one beneficial we do everywhere because for aphids, it's hoverfly, like that's
Oh
what it does
yeah,
the
I
best.
remember that at your farm. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, and we had crazy aphid problems, but not in the middle of the season, just like at the very beginning and at the very end.
Huh. And there's no reseeding.
Wait, yeah, I mean it does reseed, but if you put it, we don't plant it everywhere. Like I know some people go crazy under tomatoes and stuff. We just put it at the ends of beds and like
Oh, okay.
an
Right.
occasional one in the middle. And then where it was, it will reseed. But for a 1 square foot space, I just leave that for alyssum if it's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
I think I put beneficial plants just because I didn't know if there was any secret hidden ones that I didn't know about. Because we do the nasturtium and the marigolds and the alyssum, and then just generally flowers.
Yeah, I don't know. Any other topics or questions or comments that anyone wants to bring up?
I am just curious how many folks, we talked about this last year, are affected by allium leaf miner and are changing their crop plan because of it. Yep.
Ian, you're muted. Ian, you're muted. Wait, are you talking to us or is he on a phone? Okay.
Mold. They wiped out my leeks before I could even transplant them.
Yeah, I stopped growing leeks. I stopped growing fall leeks. I'm not overwintering scallions. We're doing 1 planting of scallions. I'm gonna cover my garlic. This sucks. It's like
I listened to a talk guy in Maine did a really detailed study on how to deal with the allium leaf miners. And he got a way to do it. It requires covering them and it requires entrust or something along the lines of entrust. But it's pretty scripted. Covering them about a week, like the last week of August, leaving them covered for 3 weeks, uncovering them, spraying them, recovering them, uncovering them, spraying them at very particular intervals. They did it like 1,000 different ways. It was great. It was one of the best studies I've ever seen somebody do. It was right to the point. I had 99% crop loss when they caught me 2 years ago in the field. That was fun. These guys seem to really have pegged it.
Cool.
Fortunately, I think they got me before I could even transplant them this year.
I think Kirsten did that this season. She covered everything.
Yes.
All the alliums, right?
He did.
I don't know how it ended up doing in the end.
I actually, I was just talking to her a second ago.
She was on the call, but I think she dropped.
Yeah, she was working. She's going back and forth. I don't know how they did. I haven't asked. I know that I had all my spring scallions got smoked, but we also have chive. See, chive plants will hold them over winter.
Yeah.
Chinese leeks, any ornamental allium, like we have tons of ornamental alliums. That's just doesn't affect the ornamental allium at all.
I think it hasn't come this far east yet.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering just like where on the map in Connecticut, because it seems like when you have it, it's terrible and everyone knows.
Oh man,
It's super patchy. I've had it. Kirsten and Chris have had it for 4 years. I've had it.
Really? Oh, yeah. Any insect that I can identify, I'm like, is this the allium leaf miner? And I'll like look at pictures.
The insidious thing is that unless you look, once they're in a leak and a leak keeps growing, it's hard to tell if they're in there. And then you're like, you see a tiny bit of discoloration, and then you peel back 4 or 5 leaves, and it's riddled with tunnels and nastiness. It's like it's a customer loser to sell somebody a bunch of leeks riddled with those things. It's like selling somebody rotten cherry tomatoes. They won't come back.
Yeah, it's probably worth just not doing leeks.
Yeah, I mean they're leeks. I mean, no one's gonna die in that hill.
Yoko, we're not too far from you.
Yeah.
And I've had them for maybe 4 years. And I just don't grow fall leeks anymore. 'Cause that was the big thing, same with everyone else.
Right. You know what? Now that I mean, there's a little bit in our last planting of scallions for sure. No,
Oh.
but it's not during the
luck.
season.
Good luck, Yoko. I'll be hoping well wishes your way.
I don't know. We had like a spectacular
Onions
onion
with garlic
here,
because
so I don't know.
Kirsten said they were actually in her garlic into some of the garlic bulbs. They made,
Oh, yeah.
and I've seen them in the stem. That doesn't really do anything. But
Oh,
if they're again, you get a warm spring and they come out earlier.
wait, do they affect onions too?
Usually onions go in, they get set outside. By the time you put your onions outside, wherever, typically the leeks you also put outside when you're hardening stuff, lots of leeks are bigger. There has to be, I'm guessing there's a certain diameter that they need to, like a floor for the size of the plant they can get on.
Right.
So onions kind of sit in that window between their two flights. And typically, I've never had them on onions. Here and there, I mean, occasionally I'll get a little bit of, a little off of,
Yeah.
on it, but not a ton. But they'll destroy your early scallions. I mean, I throw every single one of those things away and late stuff.
Yeah.
So when are you guys planting your leeks, or when you're seeing these big issues, what are your planting dates approximately?
Well, I plant my game plan this past year before they destroyed it was I was going to plant them late. Tim at Kitchen Garden Farm, I was going to do that anyways, and he was talking about how he does it. People don't really want leeks in the fall. I was going to
like a mid-June planting or something like that.
Planting. Lincoln leek from Johnny's is a really fast. It's almost like a super scallion. Kirsten grows it, and it gets a real big shank on it, and it doesn't really have to be. You don't have to plant it that deep, and it's fast. So I was going to grow that kind of in the middle to scratch the kind of summer leak-ish, and then, but that never happened because I put them out. Probably planted them a little too early. Then you put them outside, and they just it was at home, so I had those perennial sinks, perennial holding areas for them, and they just came and just wiped me out. I was like literally just pulling plants apart, like the big heftier leek seedlings. They went right in there to smoke them. Yeah. So I seeded those in maybe mid-March ish, probably a little early. But now if we do it this year, they're gonna be. I'm holding them off site. We're building like a net chamber for them, all kinds of stupid wastes of time for a plant that's probably not worth it, but we'll do it anyways because that's what we do.
I start ours in like late February, and I do King Richard, so it's out by like August, and that's it. And so we used to have ones that we would grow through that I would harvest in like October.
They'll get, as long as you put them out, they'll get you when you put them out because there's that first flight in spring. But if you can protect them,
yeah, it's just covered. It's fine. It's been fine.
Because usually they're done around early May, doing their damage in the spring. Maybe earlier than that, I guess. I hate them. They're the worst.
Anybody deal with stink bugs and sapsuckers?
Sapsuckers?
Like are the one pet? Yeah, they look like stink bugs, but they have like.
I thought bird at first. I'm like, wow, it's really. They're just little guys. This is a stink bug.
Yeah, well, there's the gray ones, which are like the marmorated stink bug or whatever, and then there's black. They're like black.
Really spindly,
red.
Real spindly legs.
Yeah.
There's so many of those things, and some of them are beneficial. And I should probably.
These ones aren't. It's real bad on our farm. The both of them have just needle-like mouths that go into like all of our cucurbits.
You get
worst in like.
You have yellow vine decline?
No.
Have you virus before? It's a new virus. Surprise.
No, we're in our first year on this property, so I doubt I have any disease problems. But the previous farmer did like gourds and pumpkins like every year in the same exact spot, probably a decade. So it's just like it's so bad, and we had yields and it was fine, but I just see it getting worse every year to the point where I'm like thinking about doing no cucurbits next year at all.
You might have to, not by any fault of your own, but
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I was thinking about just doing excluding a whole greenhouse and doing the self-pollinating cucumbers, and that's it. But like, it breaks my heart to not do. Yeah, winter squash and watermelons is just like two of my favorite crops, so it's so hard.
I know.
The yellow vine decline is fucking horrifying.
It is.
We had it in like, I think 2018 or 19 at the last farm I managed, and we walked out one day and the winters, I forget which winter squash it was affecting. I have to look back, but the vines were melted. Like there was nothing left in a matter of like 36 hours or something like that.
When did that happen?
Where?
Up in Washington, Connecticut, 2018 or 19, something like that.
What time of the year?
Outside of the state.
August, I think.
August, late July to late August, right in the prime
Plants
time.
were pretty well established, looked great, and then just out of nowhere. But they haven't had it since, which is, I don't know. I think we did a pretty good job of like destroying what was left of the plant material, but it's kind of hard to explain because they haven't.
By the marmorated squash bug, they figured that out.
Interesting.
That's horrifying because those things are
everywhere.
My friend, a good buddy of mine, Matt DeBacco, comes and scouts my property with me a bunch, and that's the first thing we look for. He's always looking for yellow vine decline because that's a problem.
Any other scary things that might destroy our whole farm?
Nobody have lantern bug? Three things.
Well, maybe that wraps up the discussion then. Should we leave on a positive note?
Sure, everybody say what the best thing they grew this year was.
Oh, we already did that. And so why don't you? Well, some people maybe only said the worst thing they grew. But anyway, Ian, you go for it.
Potatoes.
Tomatoes?
I've ever had. Yep, I got 1,200 pounds, which is not a lot, but off, I don't know, 600 bed feet.
Did you also have a great rutabaga year?
Well, yeah, until you have to get rid of 400 pounds of 300 pounds of rutabaga that you even anticipate having to get rid of. If anyone wants rutabaga, I'm giving them away. You just have to come get it yourself. I think we have pounds off 75 feet, 80 feet. They're all just massive.
We had crazy Napa broccoli and cauliflower, which was a great cap to the season because things were looking pretty dire in August. So I was happy.
It was a good fall.
Yeah.
By and large, it was
The fall was crazy. Holy shit.
I have a picture of, I don't know, I put it on Instagram, I think. It was the 1st of November, and I had 200 bed feet of broccolini that I just completely let go. I've never seen so many bees. Talk about pollinators. The plants were like shaking with bees. And it was, Halloween was bananas. I've never seen anything before.
I think it's worth doing multiple successions of broccolini just so you let that first one go completely to flower, and it like crazy pollinator activity.
I've never seen anything. That and broccoli raw. I listened to broccoli Rob go too. That was bananas too. But the broccolini, because they're so sturdy, and it was great. I just let them roll. I think I'm going to do 300 or 400 feet of it next year. 3 plantings. So I've never seen anything like that before.
All right. Well, I like to end on that note. Broccoli flowers, lots of pollinators. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a nice holiday. MC, have fun in Mexico. Hey, we could have bumped into each other in Oaxaca, like if it was like,
I know.
I don't know, like a month apart. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I will upload the video and the notes on YouTube and send it out to everyone. I'll also put it on the NICTFO website so that folks who weren't able to join us today can make it. Yeah, thanks everyone
Alright,
for coming.
sounds good. Thanks so much,
Everyone.
guys.
Always fun.
Okay.
Good to see y'all.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
That was great.
Yay.
Mhm.